my name is Justin Besteman, and I'm going to be going over the solutions to the assessment that was taken on Saturday. So I will begin with the HTML and CSS. So the first question was, what are the three ways of using CSS in HTML? So there are three main ways that we use HTML and CSS. So notice that I just made a simple HTML here, and I also made a style.css as well. So the first way is that you have a separate style sheet, just like we have style.css right here, and then we link it in. So then we do link, and then notice when I hit enter, it shows that it's a style sheet, and also that it's CSS. And now what we just have to do is hook it up to our style.css that's in the same directory. So that's the first way. The second way is to use a style tag. So this is a style tag, meaning anything that I write in here, HTML will render it as CSS. So the two ways that I just showed you right now is what we consider to be best practices. The other way to do this is what we call style attributes. So let's say I have an H2 tag right here. I can actually put style attributes right on here. And to show, I'm just going to basically write style, and spell it right, of course, and then I can just simply put color on here, and then I can just do red. So this will change the H2 to red by this. This way that I just showed you is considered not a good practice and should not be used unless there is a very good reason to use it this way. The preferred way is to do an external style sheet like I have hooked right out here. Okay? The second question is compare and contrast the div and section elements. So comparing them, they're basically both container elements, meaning that they separate content on an HTML page. The place where they differ is the semantics. So basically, section is more semantic than div. Div is one of the weakest ways that you can say it, and should be a last resort. So remember that we had a header tag, and then we can have our section tag, and then we can have our footer tag. These are very semantic, meaning that they reading the name of them communicates what they are, meaning it's a header tag and then a section tag. So those are the main similarities and differences of HTML section, or of a header or a div in a section element. Okay, moving on. So now, whoop, I accidentally hit that button. So now we have a question, write CSS that will make this bold. So I'm going to make this bold and do the other elements as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this in. Oop. Going to go ahead and copy these in so they're ready to work. So the very first thing that you need to write when you're starting your HTML is to select it. So we want to write our P, meaning we want to select everything that's a paragraph. We do space, and then we also do our curly braces to loop everything in. And how we do bold is font weight, meaning how much weight should be given to the font. And it will recognize pixels or bold like this. So we're going to do bold. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Open browser. And let me see if it opens again in Google. Nope. I can always just copy this. Go away to Safari. And there we go. We see that we have made it bold right here. The next thing that was asked of us is to make the text red of any element with an ID. There's only one ID, and that's danger. So let's go ahead and do that. So we do our selector again. And remember, when we select have a selector for ID, we use the hashtag. So we hashtag danger. And now we simply want to make it a different color. So we just do color. And we want to do red. Save. And reload the page. And notice that now this is red. Now the next question is give the element with a class. So the only class here is Will Robinson with a 15 pixel red border. So once again, we have to do our selector. So we do dot for classes, and then we type Will Robinson like so. And then to separate it, we do our curly braces. And now what we want to do is we want to write border. And the first thing we do is give it a value. And so we're going to do 15 px for pixels. And we're going to make it solid. There's other options as well. And then we'll do red, save it, and let's check out what these changes look like. There you go. We got a border going around it. It's 15 pixels, and also it's red. So there's the answer to the first one. The next one here is write HTML for an image using the URL, tiny URL, so on and so forth, give it to me. That when it clicks, it opens that image in a new page. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the content that we just wrote. And first thing we need to do is make our image tag. Now remember, an image tag is a self-closing tag, just like the link tag, meaning you do not need to write this. Like so. We just need to write image because it's self-closing. And then we need to do source, meaning the source of the image. And then go ahead and we're going to copy this URL. Okay, we've copied the URL. We're going to paste it in. And there you go. So now we have our image. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like. Ah, look at that. That's a pretty adorable GIF right there. So now the next requirement is that we need to make it an anchor tag, or that when we click it, it opens. And this is obviously something that we use an anchor tag for. So when you ever want to have that, you have to surround the anchor tag with your element with the anchor tag. So we're going to go like this. And then once again, remember what's closing and not closing. So this is an example of a closing tag. So you need to close it off. And we also want it to open to that page. Now anchor tags, don't forget, takes in hrefs and not sources. So this is where it's going to go. And so we can copy that tiny URL in there, save it, and let's check out what we have so far. Okay, nothing's changed, but when I click it, now it opens to this image. But the question specifically asked that opens a new tab. So we have to add one more attribute to A, which is something called target. And then we set where to target, and how to open into a new tab is underscore blank. Underscore link, not black. There you go. Let's go ahead and reload this page. There's our URL. Click it, and now notice that it opens a new one. So that is how you answer that question. Next one here. We want to add in a new style sheet that's in the same directory as this one. And also we want to make these elements on the page and put placeholder contents in them. So I'm just going to go and delete what I've already wrote in here. So now the main point of this question is, can you link and can you put these ones in order for where they should be? So once again, the link tag is going to look very similar to what we have. In fact, why don't I just copy this whole thing so that I just use what's been used here. There you go. Now we need to do our separate link. Oops, not li. What happens when you click too fast. There you go. And then it's called your style styles.cs. And I don't need to navigate because it's in the same file. So now the header is your first element. So your header goes up in the top. Then the next one is going to be your section. So this is going to be the main piece of your page. And then the next one after that is the aside. So this is kind of where the navigation might be or something like that. So there you go. And then the next piece of this puzzle is where do you put the footer, and the footer goes on the very bottom. So once again, this is kind of like the section question that we asked. So this is semantic, so meaning that I can read these and I know exactly what they are. So once again, I could accomplish the exact same code and readout of my HTML by using these as all divs, but not using them as all divs and using these clears up what it is really quickly for the user. The next one is asking us to write out this code. So basically it says that CSS child selectors allow you to select direct children of a specific element, meaning whether they're nested in, so parent-to-child relationship. So here's an example. So basically we're asked to write one that will target every class inside of body that has this this class on there. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it, and I'm just going to make a quick h2 tag. I'm going to go ahead and put a class on there, so that way we have something to target. So there's our target, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my style tags back in so I can just do my HTML or my CSS right in here. So the answer to this question is that you want to put the parent first, so body, and then the greater symbol, and then the class name that you want to target. So that's going to be dot, so that we do class, and then this. And then we also want to give it a background color of blue. So you just spell it out. Background. Oh, didn't auto-complete it for me just yet. Oh, you're making me type. And then we select blue. Go ahead and save it. And let's double check what this looks like. And I just realized I shut it, so it's going to open Safari again. And nothing shows up because I didn't put any content in here. So we'll do hello world quickly. Save it, and let's reopen it. And then there you go. It will select everything that has a class of this that's nested or a child of body. So that's the answer to that question. The next is this pseudocoding question. Open image in a new tag. So let's see if we can go ahead and solve this together. So basically it's asking, can you look at this and then tell me what you believe the HTML element would have been used to make this desired effect. So, very first one, H1, for number one, we're kind of considering an H1 tag here. We didn't offer any other header tags, so for example, you could have done H2 or H3 here, but what we're looking for is that this is the header of the page, so therefore it has a header tag. So this is probably H1 or H2. The next one here is either a nav, so some kind of navigation, or an ordered list element. So notice that this is an ordered list, 1, 2, 3, 3.1, 3.2, so on and so forth. The next one, number 3, is a table. So notice you have your headers, you have your columns, and then you have your rows. This is how you make a table. The next one, which is number 4, is that we're looking for some type of input element, meaning something that a user can type in to do some type of logic that the HTML wants to do. And we also accepted some type of a nav bar, because obviously this would be up in the header or a nav bar element. And number 5 is just to pick out a list of certain things that would be used to have this desired effect in this text. So what we're looking for here is this would obviously be strong or bold. Then we have an anchor tag, and then we have two paragraphs, and then we were looking for some type of containing element. So this might be a div or a section. So that is the answer to this pseudocoding question. The next one is a little bit tricky, but a great question. Is basically, can you recognize this pattern? So Pug is a language that takes in this type of format and then outputs, when rendered, into this. So, can we write this knowing that this is how you would write this to be like this? So I'm just going to write it in the body right here. Once again, this is not how you actually would write Pug, but I'm doing this just as an example. So you start off by your tag. So we're going to do block quote here. So I'm simply going to type out block quote, then space, and then we indent in. And then what we're looking for is p dot quote. Whoops. So we put our class right on there. And also this one has an ID as well. So let's go ahead and put the ID. So we're going to follow that with a hashtag, meaning that it's going to be an ID instead of a class. And then the name. So we're going to do call Kenny logins. Okay. And now we're going to do another one. So we're going to do dot. And notice now that we have two classes, and we're going to follow that with two dots. We're going to chain them together. No spaces. And just for very simple, so I can simply write this. There you go. And then the context that you want. And then we'll also have a footer. And then we just simply want what we want to say. So that is the answer. That's what, so when compiled with Pug, the output would have been this. You can see why it's kind of popular, because you have to write a lot less code or writing. Okay, next one. It's asking, this HTML is not valid. What are the reasons here? Why is this not valid? Well, the very first thing, it's missing a doc type. Remember, every HTML page needs a doc type header, meaning this header right up here. So it always needs this. This communicates to the HTML document that's starting, and also the version of HTML that's going to load. Whenever you just write HTML like this, it's just going to pick the latest version. But if you're writing something in HTML3, you can actually specify for HTML3, 4, 2, and so on and so forth. The next one is, there is no title tag here. We're missing our title that we have right here. And last but not least, remember, some HTML tags are self-closing. This is an example of a self-closing tag. So with a break, you don't need to write this. So when rendered, this would actually show up as text on the page rather than the line. So that's wrong. So those are the three reasons why this is not a valid HTML. Moving on, this CSS is not working. What are the reasons? First off, we notice that we don't have any IDs in here, but yet we're using a hashtag. So we would use a dot right here instead of a hashtag. The other is we're trying to chain these. No space is used when you're chaining things. So this would be italics dot bad, not italics space bad, as what we have now. We're trying to put italics on it, but yet we're using font weight. And remember, font weight is used for bold. Whenever you want to write italic or anything like that, you want to use font style. So those are the three reasons why this CSS is not correct. Okay, so now we're asked to use this certain selector based on the attribute that's inside the HTML. So how would we write this? So we're trying to target all the anchor tags that have a certain type of internal target locations. So I'm just going to delete this. So how we would start this is the name of the tag, which is A for anchor. square brackets. And then what we want to do here is we want to write the HTML attribute that we're targeting, which in this case is this hyperlink. And then we follow the syntax of caret equals, and then what we want to target. So we're trying to target all the ones with internal target locations. So that's just going to be the hashtag. And then we just space it out like this. And now what we want to do here, background color. And we've already done a background color on one. So background color, and then this is going to be orange, as that's what it's asked us to do. So there you go. So this will target all anchor tags that have an attribute that's targeting an internal source. Last but not least, for the HTML CSS, we're asked to put our outside sources in order. So we have a CSS file, JavaScript, Bootstrap, and jQuery. There's two possible ways to solve this. I'll cover both. Delete this. Take out this. Delete a little. Well, I guess I keep one of these. So first, we want to hook in our jQuery. So basically, rule of thumb, always load in your jQuery first. Most things use it, even Bootstrap uses it for their animation, so it's always good and a good practice to load in Bootstrap first. Or I'm sorry, jQuery first. Now remember, for a JavaScript, we use script. So we won't use the link tag here, we're going to use a script. And then we're going to use source, not href. So we're going to go ahead and grab this CDN, which stands for Content Delivery Network. And there you go. So now we have successfully loaded jQuery onto the page. Now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to load in our separate JavaScript file. And we're still going to do source. So it's telling us that we're loading from the HTML. So since we're loading from the HTML, we have to navigate to assets. So that's our folder that's in the same place as the HTML document. Then we need a path to the JavaScript, and then path to what our JavaScript file is called. So this is the next step. So this will hook in our JavaScript app.js. Next, we want to hook in our Bootstrap. Now we use a link tag. And then we use href to hook in to our Bootstrap CDN for Content Delivery Network. So this will deliver Bootstrap to our page. And last but not least, we need to hook in our own style sheet, which is called Style CSS. So now I can just reuse this one. And it's going to follow similarly to the last one. So I'm going to do assets, path, and now I'm going to go into my CSS folder and then path again. So this is how you would properly load in these CDNs in these external sheets this way. Another answer to this question is you could have loaded this one here as well on line 7. So you could have loaded your jQuery and then Bootstrap and then done your pages. Just another answer to the question, but this is the preferred method because then you have your JavaScript files all together and then your CSS all together as well. So these are all the answers for the HTML and CSS questions on the assessment. Thank you.